The person I'm going to speak about today in this series we're doing on ordinary people who have affected the lives of others as Christians is Brian Doyle. As a bishop, we get a lot of material, books and magazines and periodicals from people who want to press their cause. I was looking through the magazine from the University of Portland and it just happened to catch my eye, an article by a man named Brian Doyle. I was struck by what he said and by how he said it. I began to see his name then in other magazines and periodicals, and the things I read I was really moved by. So I wrote him a note and thanked him for what he was doing. And then I looked up further to see what I could find out about Brian Doyle. Brian Doyle was born in 1956 in New York City. He was part of a large Irish Catholic family. His father was a lecturer, and his father was a journalist, and his mother was a teacher. And the family had 6 boys plus Brian and 1 girl. He went to the University of Notre Dame and eventually got a job at the University of Portland editing their magazine. In the articles that he has written, the thing that is very striking is how he picks up so many ordinary things. For example, he writes this, that I want people to know that there are a million more things are possible and real and happening than we know about. And he did that. He was married, wife Mary, and had 3 children. And in the articles that he writes about things as having a catch with his father in the street, and then what happened to his family when a child was born, a son was born, who had a serious heart defect. He writes about how the children that he had, how they would hold his hand. One held the pinky, the other would grab his hand, the other grab his trousers. And he writes about watching a hawk fly and what that meant to him. He wonders about the workings of the human heart and the physical reality that's there and all the wonderful things that it does. He writes about prayer, and he writes about himself facing cancer and the ultimate death that he would die. He died in 2017. He was 60 years old. But he leaves something behind him, which is great. It's this book. It's called One Long River of Song by Brian Doyle. What he talks about himself, he says that he came from a family of storytellers. And that's what he did. He told stories about all kinds of things that reflected faith. Today, we live in a world where there's all kinds of social media, all ways of being in contact with one another, but the family connection breaks down. And so many of these contacts we have with others are so superficial. We need someone like Brian Doyle to teach us how to become a family of storytellers in our own family, to pass on our stories, to pass them on with faith, and to live the faith that he lived in all the things that he did.